Okay, we're gonna use charcoal to draw out a basic eye, and I'll put a little bit of detail into it, but we're just gonna go over the basics really fast. So I'm gonna zoom in. I'm gonna try and make these symmetrical. I've done some measurements, but let's zoom in and see what we can come up with so you can see what to do. Okay, so what I want you to start off with is I put a 1.5 inch circle marking the eyeball. Okay, so you can kind of use guess and check method to put in a circle. You can measure 1.5 diameter to make sure that you get the right size you want. Really, if you're practicing this in your sketchbook, you can do it any size that you want. So I'm just using those measurements to help myself out with my drawings. So the second thing that I've done is I've tried to center a perfect circle as I can in the center. You can use a tool for this. Right in the center of the eyeball. So I've created a line, and if you look at both my eyes, I've tried to line them up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this line. This marks where I want my rainbow arch to be. So the first thing I like to do is to put the tear duct in the corner, and then come across the top. So not everyone sees the whole circle of their eye, so you want to cut this rainbow archway right across the top of that iris. There's a little bit of space that I'm going to leave for the water line down here, and you can go ahead and thicken that white line for the water line. Okay, and the next thing that I'm going to do is just kind of slowly build up some white highlights in here for the white of the eye, but we're going to be blending using some black charcoal in just a second. So don't scribble. You can try and smooth out your shading. You need to have your blending stump handy, a piece of sandpaper, and I'm using an HB charcoal just to draw out. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put in a little moon crescent for the pupil. And what I want is I want to leave a slant for the highlight. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is try to outline my iris with my black charcoal, and then I'm gonna just put in some light shading around the tear duct and the edge of the eye. Not too much, just very, very little. Okay, you can go ahead and add in a little bit of a shadowing for the lash shadows. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to blend some of these in. Oops. I want to blend some of these lines in. We don't want the white of the eyes to be glowing white, okay? Just a little bit more white charcoal to blend in with that. We don't want them to be glowing white. There's a shadow from the lashes. It's a curved sphere, so we want to pull over some of those shadows. You can always add more white. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my black charcoal, and I want to outline my water line. What I'm noticing is my water lines need to line up, so I'm going to be very light about this. And then I want to outline the top of my eye because it's not, I just use the white charcoal to begin. Okay, so now I'm going to add a little bit more white charcoal to this side. And I'll go ahead and put my shape in for my highlight. Okay, so one little detail that I like to add in is some little squiggles on the edge of the iris. You can do these if you want to try them. They're just like a little snake-like rope formation that goes around. You can duplicate this. Doesn't have to be perfect. Nobody has perfect anything. So, okay, so I've repeated those little squiggles in there. You can go in with your white charcoal if you want and just do really tiny little details inside, little dots. Run my white charcoal around the pupil. Okay, so now I want to use these the circle that I've drawn for the actual eyeball as a reference, and I'm going to add some white for an eyelid. You can experiment with eyelid shape. And I'm gonna add a little bit. I know there's a little bit of light that catches underneath people's eye because remember it's round. Okay, we want to save some room for the shadow. I'm gonna take the dirty end of my blending stump. I'm not quite sure how much gray I have on there, and I'm gonna try and get rid of this line. And I'm trying to create a shadow. Maybe I need to borrow from here. We don't want too much. I want to soften these lines. Soften your waterline. Maybe carry some of this down below. Because the eye is set in the socket, and we want that natural shadow that's underneath your eye. Okay. So be very delicate with your shading. I'm gonna put in lashes last. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is add a little bit of a shadow for the arch of the eyelid and the eye socket. And we can blend that in. And then I can go ahead and use the side of the white charcoal to put in some white around the eye. I'm gonna be sure to put in a good amount of this here before I put my lashes in. Get rid of that eyeball shape. Okay, so I will zoom out a little bit just to check my symmetry. Almost. So let's zoom back in and continue. So the next thing I was going to do is take my blending stump, try and blend in this eyelid shadow, bring it up a little bit before I put my lashes in. Maybe blend in this under eye socket shadow. Okay, so once we have all of that, you're basically set. The rest of it is just connecting it up to the eyebrow. So I am being a little aggressive with the blending stump. We don't want this to be such a line. This needs to be more of a shadow. So let me build up my white charcoal to get rid of some of that, and then go up to the eyebrow. So there is a highlight by the eyebrow. You can put a good amount of this down first. You can blend with your fingers. I like using the blending stump. You know that light is going to catch the cheekbone right here quite a bit, just depending on your face. So it will end up blending all of this, but this is just an eye, so. This is what happens when I use my fingers. I think that the blending stump would probably allow me to spread more of it and get a little bit more okay, I'm going to add just a little bit of shadowing there for where the brow bone or the eye socket goes up into the brow. Okay, so I could carry this over. Everyone's different. Let's just go ahead and put some eyebrows in so we can wrap this up. Let's start off with them going straight up. Now, everybody's eyebrows are different. Sorry, my phone is ringing. And they start to turn direction. So straight, and then they start to curve. And you can blend these, can add some white between it and do a second coat. It's not really enough white there to begin with, but for our eye, we can go ahead and stop there. Well, we need eyelashes, so we want to keep that very simple. Make sure your pencil is sharpened, and I like to start with the outer edge, and you can do them in clusters of 2. That one's a little bit long for being natural, so keep them natural, and then they curve a different direction towards the center of the eye. Less is more with lashes, so just kind of space them out a little bit. Again, they curve inward on the bottom row. You can add like little baby single ones. They do grow in different phases, so some of them are going to be shorter, some of them are going to be longer. Okay, they might crisscross a little bit. Okay, so that's basically it. So they're almost symmetrical. We'll see what happens when I put in the rest of the face.